So the first thing, and now instead of fine-tuning this, I had to go back to explaining the purpose, because I saw players marking and not even realizing that they have to cover the goal. Pressuring, there was no pressure at all. They all stopped maybe with 2-3 meters in between, and they thought they were defending, but in my opinion they're not doing anything. They were standing on the pitch instead of pressuring. They didn't understand that defending is a team task. You do things together. Defending, and that's I think what I see all over the place in Australia, defending is very individual. I try to dive in and I try to win the ball, and I succeed or I don't. If I don't succeed, then the next one is coming. They dive into it and they try to win it, and they succeed or they don't. If they don't, then the next one is coming and they dive into it and they try to win it. That's a bit, for me, how defending looks like in Australia. I want to have it a bit more organized. So I started with the Matildas to work on this one. In front of the box, it's all about defending the box. So leave the player on the outside, leave that player alone. It's not important. You tag in and you defend. And then it's about discovering the right moment to make the run, to make the pressure if that's needed. And it was about moving up a bit with the whole team. How do you defend the goal together with the teammates next to you and in front of you? How do we get the space small to get pressure on the ball? All the basic things, and for me the basic things are the purpose, and then in this one, all those principles. They're not understood. Players don't show them on the field, so that's my conclusion. If you don't show it and you don't understand it, you don't know it. For me, the principles in defending are, first of all, you make the playing area as small as you can. In that small area, it's easier to pressure and all those other things. The second thing, when you're organized, you start to get pressure on the ball. And you need to do that in the right body shape. And my players normally, they dive into it or they instead of. So they don't know the technical area of it. So they can't pressure the ball. Too far away and in the wrong, with feet in the wrong position. The third one, you cover. When one player is pressuring, the other one is covering in the back. They don't understand the cooperation in defending. When the midfield moves up, the whole defense line moves up to keep the area small. And the fourth one, you're not making faults or going to the ground, because then you lose the play. So basic principles, they were not there, and I have to work on it. When this is a bit there, then you can try to work on execution on task, how you do it in a position, how you do it together with the players next to you, and how you do it as a whole team. So this is where we try to work on, to speed up the process, because actually I should go back to that one. Same when it's further on off the pitch. First of all, you try to explain the purpose of disturbing the build-up. You try to teach them the basic principles that will help them to make this, to realize this one, and then you go to the execution task. So, probably I will ask you some questions when I meet you later in the day, because I'm very curious if you share my thoughts that defending needs a bit more improvement in Australia. It would help us. I think our girl under 17 didn't qualify for the World Cup, and they missed out qualification because their defending skills were not good enough. They are very good in attacking, but their attacking became a bit useless because they didn't know how to win the ball back. I saw it with the Socceroos, I saw it in the A-League, and I see it everywhere. So we could help each other by improving defending. Time for some questions, but the message is also that we are all responsible to keep the Matildas in that world leading position. So it's time to start cooperating and working together on getting the girls on the highest level, and that's winning a medal.
Yesterday didn't talk about the difference between girls and boys using the curriculum. Could you talk about that?
What's the question? I didn't see it.
From your perspective.
Yeah. Well, as I tried to show in the building blocks, for me there is no difference. The game is the game. It doesn't matter for me who's playing it. So the process is the same, the stages of development are the same, the tasks are the same, everything is the same. But the only thing that might be different, you need to figure out where to start with the girls. And what is missing a bit in the curriculum is our pathway, our talent development pathway. So that should be added. But in all the other things, I think a national curriculum should be a curriculum for all players, doesn't matter which gender you are. Does it answer your question a bit? Or do you have a specific one, a specific topic that you're curious about?
You talk about the girls starting a bit later than the boys.
Yeah.
So the age difference,
yeah.
That's difficult for me to know what are the discovery things that a 13-year-old who's playing the game first time or a 15-year-old for the first time. I'm not clear about that from the curriculum.
Yeah. Well, if they start to play the game, then you should have the content a bit, well, then you go back to the discovery phase. If you start the game at the age of 13, then you start in the discovery phase, and that means, first of all, you learn to master the ball. And that's all kind of, I don't like the word exercise, because I think children like to play, so they like to play games. So I would always say try to come up with skill development games. And that might be crossing a road with someone in between who's trying to take the ball away from you, so you start running with the ball, but there's always a bit of threatening that someone might take the ball away, and it starts with maybe 10 on a row who cross the road, and then there's only one in the middle, and then the 2 in the middle, and the 3 in the middle. So all those fun things where they can discover what the ball is doing, so they do running with the ball, they do a bit of passing. I would never do passing all directions. I always, because, well, let's go back to this one. I'm sorry, I spoiled it. For me, the game has a direction, and that's always from one side to the other. So when I teach, I did skill, I coached all levels. So when I had the under 8 and the under 10s, I did a lot of skill acquisition games, and they always had direction. So I started first mastering the ball. And it was mastering the ball from this direction to that direction. It was, then I added accuracy, because every pass has to go from this point to that point, because you want to go to the other side of the game. So for example, I started dribbling, goal directed, finishing with a pass in a goal. But a lot of things I did had always the direction of the field, added accuracy, and then adding a bit more resistance with adding slowly the opponents. That also makes it exciting, because there's always threatening that you be attacked. Is that more what you're looking for? So we can discuss on content if you like. I'm here all day.
Yeah, I totally agree with your philosophy on defending. I did that when I coached the seniors team in Division 4. We're getting smashed, and it's just because I had no idea about defending, and so I basically followed what you said, although I haven't heard you before. So I believe that defending really does start with back there, and then, especially when you do lose it up in the attacking arm, come back a little bit, drop back, really compact yourself to really prevent the opposition from getting through you. And yeah, I do see that in Australia, we concentrate on that attacking play, but we're pretty pathetic when we defend. But I've got a question though. You're talking about transitioning, and I don't really work on transitioning, again, because of what you said. But then while we're talking and watching some of your clips, you pointed out that your players weren't transitioning well. So would you do a transitioning exercise, although you wouldn't normally?
Well, I do, but I don't separate it. So when I work on their transition, for example, I will start with maybe a small attack, cross, make sure that there's not much resistance to score the goal, but the cross has to end in the goalkeeper's hands, and then from there the exercise starts. So then they have to open up quickly, so they get it in their system. But then actually I work on build-up from the back. For me, that's not really transition. Transition is such a small second moment that I don't want to waste my time on it. On the highest level, transition makes the difference. But on the youth level, I think there's so much more to learn on attacking and defending the bigger areas that, for me, spending time on transition is a waste of training time. So, but on my level, it's becoming more important, and then I strive to pay attention to it by combining the two. Is that enough answer?
But what I'm saying is, especially with practicing playing out the back, they were so slow in getting out, and really you lost the ball in your half, which you don't want. So you wouldn't. So let's say you were doing.
So, for example, I can practice my build-up from the back, and I can start in a very controlled situation where the goalkeeper is in possession. That's really controlled, and then they're already in open positions, and then it starts, and then I can improve all my players in their position, their player actions from there. And then the next step might be that the opponent is starting with an attack, we win it, and then we start our build-up from a less organized situation because they're all in wrong positions for the build-up. They're in their defending positions. The goalkeeper is getting it, and their build-up from the back starts. So I change my starting situation. I'm not starting in a very controlled and organized situation where everything is already spread out, but I start with a moment of transition. So my start will be transition. You start, or I let my goalkeeper coach start with a long ball, and they have to protect the goal. Goalkeeper wins it, and then they have to spread out. So it's in my preparation. It will be a build-up from the back, and then I describe the starting situation as a moment of transition. That's how I do it.
Guys.